Okay, good morning, everybody. We are fast and furious headed towards the end of this school year, which means we have 4 STAAR tests to get in. We had a few technical glitches, this even trying to sign in this morning. So everybody that's on, thank you all for bearing with us, me. And I'm not sure why my camera, you can't actually see my face, but you can see my screen, and that's all that's important right now. So our folder that we're going to share for this whole April STAAR EOC testing is called Spring 2024 STAAR EOCs. It'll be in a link that's in the email today. We're going to focus on the slideshow on our for our training. A lot of this is very familiar because of our English 2 field test. It's so similar to procedures. There's just a few little tweaks. So I will go as fast as I can as far as understanding, but remember that training never takes the place of reading the manual or your resources. So there's a copy of the manual here and a copy of the checklist because it's so vitally important that we're all on the same page. All right. Waiting for the computer to catch up. I guess everybody's having a slow morning. Here we are. All right. So just like we said, it never takes the place of appropriate manuals and resources. You can access it online through the slideshow, or it will be also attached in the email with all of the training information. Here's the breakdown of our test days. The 10th and 11th, this is really critical that we have those conversations. If you haven't started, start today, because that is a Wednesday and Thursday. Then we are out on the Friday. There's so many moving pieces. Band has UIL. There is an area track meet. There are students that will be taking these tests on various days because of conflicts that were just unavoidable. We had to pick days where the least amount of conflicts would be, and we could get the most amount of testers in. English 1 and English 2 are our biggest single test days. So we just need to get our test in and have our kids prepared and ready to test. So rosters and staff assignments will be available in the shared folder by Monday, April 8th. That's at the absolute latest. Obviously, I'm hoping for faster. But as y'all know, TELPAS just ended Friday. So it's a constant, the next chain reaction, here we go. And then followed by that, we have like the week in between. We actually have, I believe it's 4 days because we're off on the 12th and then we're off on that following Monday. So then there's 4 days in there that I have to finish. We have to finish getting English 1 and English 2 made up and change over for biology, US, and algebra 1. We could have chosen to have these on 3 separate days, but biology and US have some conflicts, but not very many. So we are opting to put them on the same day to keep us from having another flip day where we relocate everybody in the school. So in those staff, it'll be by the Monday of that testing week will be the absolute latest things will be shared with you. Just keep your eye on emails and you'll be on the same page with everybody else. All right. Things to prevent irregularities. Remember, we did our securities training back in the fall, and it's good for the whole year. Your oath. If you have a question about your oath or whether you really signed it, I'm happy to relook it up. But we made sure that everybody on campus has an oath on file. You have taken place in security. So, y'all make sure to mute your microphones. Make sure that you are following all the information that's provided on the accommodations that are there. Make sure kids have those in place. You need to ask the room if you think you have an accommodation or you should have headphones or you shouldn't have headphones. They ask them if they say, Miss Williams told me to come talk to her before I test if I don't have my accommodations. Bring them to me. Bring them to me. Start the room, have your assists, bring them down. I'll get it sorted out because once they start, if something is off, it's really hard to put those embedded accommodations in place. Okay, so another tip is make sure your seating charts are accurate. Every time we have a checklist, it tells you when to fill out what. And when you come into the testing office with missing times, missing seat numbers, missing anything that has been outlined for you, it's really hard to think that you're actually on the same page as everybody else and following procedure. And that is a testing irregularity. That is a procedural irregularity, but it is a testing irregularity. And we don't need to be in violation of anything. We just need to be on our game. So make sure you're following all your checklists, communicated information, document what's requested, provide the right test materials, verify that kids are submitting their responses. We ask our kids in the instructions, we pause at the end, everybody remind your kids, raise your hand before you submit, because if they don't, then you need to make them sign back on and show you that they have submitted. It won't allow them back in once they've submitted. Okay, account for all testing materials, verify everybody's identity. You can put tickets out when they come in. That's a great way for kids to know who you're supposed to be. Sit down, get their procedures in order, get their phones turned in, all the things happening. There's nothing that is sacred necessarily about their ticket. It is part of the materials that is secure that we bring back, but it cannot by itself let them into a test. Okay, so just follow these things and we're going to be great, I promise. Okay, here's some important information. Begin making your test room ready. I'm going to say now. That's inferred right there. Begin making sure your room is test ready. I cannot reiterate enough. Everyone needs to make sure your room is test ready. Right now, you may not be able to ungroup your desk, and that's understandable, but start covering, start removing anything that could help or hinder on a test. This first group is English 1 and 2. So if anything on your walls could help or hinder on an English test, remove it or cover it. And that needs to happen this week. We don't have time. That responsibility of the room, I've said it over and over, it is primarily, it's a co-responsibility. First and foremost, the person who is always in the room, that is your regular room. It's your responsibility first. That second comes up with the person that's assigned to the room for that test day. Okay, this has all the things. I'm trying to, I want you to have them ready by April 4th, because April 8th, as we know, is going to be anything but normal. And if I come by, I can't wait till midnight and change everybody's room myself and, you know, set the alarm and all those things. So be responsible, be the adult, take care of things, have your rooms ready. And then before you leave on Tuesday, April 23rd, before you leave on April 9th, you'll make sure your desks are exactly as they should be. The main room check I'm going to come by for is looking at the walls. And I'll primarily go to where we're assigned. So where we're not assigned, you still have to be ready, because we've had to move kids every year for some reason or another, a whole room. All right, communicate with your students where they should go. I'm trying to have student notifications out on the Fridays, but everything in totality, the latest it will be is the Monday of the testing week, like was on the previous slide. All students will be in their assigned rooms until an announcement's made. That also means that all staff people will be in their assignment until an announcement's made. Whether you have a bathroom duty, you're an assist, you're in a room, you're in a testing office, wherever you're assigned to be, you will stay there until the announcement's made that we're moving to regular schedule. Now, remember, this is determined by when we can consolidate kids that are still testing. So I would love to tell you exactly what time it's going to be, but I have no idea the pacing of our kids. We don't want to rush them, but I'm going to tell you right now, you need to wake them up. This is not a thing where they need to sleep as long as they can and then be ready to move because they want to take all their time. Taking all their time means actively working. If they're not actively working, we've got issues. We need to get them going. All right, let's move on. Students on early release will be released when announcements made to go to last period. Sometimes they get confused thinking that, oh, they have last lunch, so their early release is actually 1:45, but it's not. If they have last period off, that early release is 2:15-ish. I may be off on that time a little bit. Regardless, if for some chance we are not able to go to the last period, we're going to give instructions at time. It will involve a student being able to pull up their schedule on Skyward. It will not be in effect for testing rooms. Hear me now. That will not be in effect for testing rooms where there is still a bucket in play, where there are kids still testing in the room. All right. All students need to bring their Chromebooks, encourage them to bring their chargers. I know they're not doing that on a regular basis. Off and on right now, have those.
Hey.
Just say, hey,
Okay.
let's turn them off, restart them.
All right. Well, I just dropped stuff off at Mesquite High School, and that's why I'm running late.
Oh, what did I get?
I don't know. What would you like?
I think it's.
I don't know.
Okay, here we go. Sorry, everybody. All right, so non-testing students, they can work on Google Classrooms, but we also have a lot of people recovering learning, working on pinning assignments, doing tutoring for an EOC or AP test. Everybody has an assignment to be somewhere. In testing rooms, they can't have their phones, electronic devices, earbuds, whatever they have, they can't have it. Smartwatches, make sure that all that's up. But non-testing rooms, keep them in play. There was a couple of times in the past 2 flip days where a teacher would give a kid a pass or call for someone. It doesn't matter. We are not moving. We are not moving. Please don't move your room to a different room. Even if your regular room has no one in it, there is a strategic place for you. So hear me now, everyone. I don't care who you ask, the answer should be, and I'm covering right now in training, do not allow kids to go other places other than the clinic where they'll be escorted with a pass. And please don't call for them. And please don't change your room. Thank you. All right, we'll follow the designated lunch schedule and instructions provided by Mr. Johnson. This plan will appear on our tab of our attendance rosters, room breakdown, staff assignments when they are ready. The lunch tab doesn't always appear when everything else does, but it appears when we need it to. You don't really have to know about your lunchtime until the day that you're going. Testing students eat a silent lunch. All students have to be in dress code, and you can just, again, make sure your Google Classrooms are up to date. All right, attendance, this is old hat by now. I have the folder link there. Again, you'll find your roster, highlight here, top absent if they're absent. This is for the entire school. If I have a sub in a room, then I'll provide them a paper roster and it will be taken care of that way. All right, staff assignments, we said this. Staff assignments will be available. These are at the absolute latest dates. Here's the possible things it could be. Please be flexible. I know we get sick of testing. I know you don't want to. Believe me, I just tested like 14 days on end. I understand. And you may go, well, you're the testing coordinator. I get that. I'm supposed to coordinate them, but we all have to do our part, y'all. Testing is not fun, but it's not fun for our kids either. So please play the role that you have to play. Everybody has one. There is no role that is easier than the other. People just sometimes feel grass is greener. And I'm sorry, we just have to do our part. And I apologize in advance. If you have a major conflict or you are on school business, you're scheduled to be off, you already have approval. I do not know these things. Please treat it as if you have never told me, even if you've told me 20,000 times. I would really appreciate an email today that reminds me. And remember, if it's school business, it needed to be approved by Mr. Johnson first. These are test days that are to be treated as blackout days. All right. Here we go. Walking through the manual. These are reminder pages that would be very helpful to you. Again, there's another link for the manual. You've seen the manual. We saw it in the fall, and then we gave field tests, and I attached the manual then as well. But these are important pages to review. All right. Designated supports and allowable accommodations, those things to keep in mind. Online supports are going to be previously enabled. If you're in a room for headphones and the kids try to log in and they can't even test a headphone volume level, there's a problem. So we need to let me know about that immediately. At Mesquite High School for this year, there are only supplemental aids for biology and Algebra 1. Keep in mind, scratch paper is to be given to every student for every test. We encourage them to use it, write out their thoughts, work their things out. You can't encourage them that once the test starts, but we have to, when it tells you in the checklist, please make sure you distribute scratch paper. The things that are embedded in the lower left quadrant right here, those things I will make sure they're already enabled. Remember, there's no extra time accommodation. Students are not timed and have technically till the end of the school day, which they have 7.5 hours to finish testing. We do have to notate our times accordingly. All right. Testing irregularities and assistance for snoozing kiddos. If a kid keeps sleeping, your assist can't help, you tag team in on the person that's the lead for your hallway, call Miss Gary 15580. And or email her, let her know. I would prefer you call her so we could immediately get somebody up there and have some assistance. Up here at the top, if anything seems out of compliance, call 27815. Katie Fleener will be manning the phones. We need to, even if it is an incident, you're going to put it on the incident report, but I need to know so I can tell you, hey, we keep testing, or hey, we need to remove that student, or we may need to restart a test. Let us know what's going on. We can't help what we're not aware of. All right, testing procedures. I'm going to say follow the checklist. There's a link to the checklist. There's a checklist in your folder. I am not going to read all of these, but I do want to say there's a couple of things I'm going to highlight. So all of these are before the students arrived, and it's an easy breakdown. You may want to have this open. This may be just as important to you as having the other checklist. It's all the same. It just looks in different format. Up here at the top, you need to pick up by 8:05. You can start picking up as early as 7:30 on these EOC days. I will be here. I may be running in by the skin of my teeth, but I will be here. I hope to be here earlier than that. Skip one, make sure you put people, don't allow anything to be on the desk unless it's directed by the checklist or the testing manual. So the only thing you need to put on their desk to begin with is their ticket, okay? And then come down here. You will not write the session ID itself until you're on the board, until you're told to do so. Because the moment they see the session ID, some of these kids are going to jump ahead of you and start. Read your checklist. Even if I don't read it aloud to you, every bit of it is important. Every bit. All right, this part is as students arrived, as you're checking them in, as you're taking their cell phones and smartwatches and they're powering them off. Confirm that. Again, it reiterates nothing on the desk other than their Chromebooks and their test tickets. All right, if they don't have a Chromebook, you are not going to be going to get them. You're not going to go send a student for them. There's a sheet you will fill out. Your assist will come get it. Bring the Chromebooks back. Guys, rearrange your kids. If you have a ticket there, you do not have to be married, but that's where you put the ticket. That must be where the kid goes. If a student needs a plug, get them close to a plug. Just keep everybody facing the same direction and spaced apart. All right, once we're out of computers to check out, students will be moved to a different day. As of yet, looking for some wood, that has not happened, and we hope it doesn't. Okay, continue to follow your checklist. All right, on this part, the next slide, document things, make sure you follow your checklist. There's a place before you start the test, you read the electronic policy, it gives them one more chance to turn things over to you. And not until after that, we remind you to encourage students, and then it says distribute pencils and scratch rough paper. Not until you are actually ready to start do you just distribute pencils and scratch paper and even their supplemental aids for applied symptoms. All right. This reminds you, once we start the test, you're reading directions in the manual, and then you notate the session ID. Not until you start reading in the manual. Okay, when kids begin, you record the time simultaneously. There is a room start time, and that goes at the top. If a student's time is different from that, it goes on the start-stop sheet. Okay, then it comes down here and mark your attendance. We've gotten better at knowing that there is going to be high traffic on the attendance sheet. Be patient. Everybody's not going to get to mark their attendance at 8:30, nor should you. Our kids are still trying to wander in your room at that point. Just make sure it's ready to be submitted at 10. I would like it done as quickly as possible, but you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is the attendance at Mesquite High School. Well, maybe it's not built in a minute. How about that? All right. Again, I'm going backing up. Sorry. Please be on time for lunch, whatever the lunch plan is. Please follow your checklist, actively monitor. This is when you follow the plan for lunch, this is what you're supposed to do. If we end up and kids are on it and they know their stuff and they're acing their test and we get to go to third or seventh period, well, then the lunch won't apply that day. They'll go to regular lunch. But just know the instructions, follow your checklist. People keep saying we're not sure that we're supposed to record times. Yes, record finish time on the roster. It is still here. It is still here. You just have a couple more slides left, I promise. All right, that's how you return your materials. Remember, headphones don't go out until your bucket's turned in and your, electronic devices don't get returned until your bucket's turned in and you're cleared by the testing office. All right, these are things to make note of and revisit. Take your staff laptop with you. Be flexible on arranging kids. Remember, try to arrange them so that they can use their Chromebook. If you are a bathroom or hallway person, you need to trade. We don't really have hallway people. We have bathroom and assist. So y'all need to take care of each other. Try to get a snack lunch in or keep snacks with you that day, because who knows when you're going to get to eat. Teachers, make sure you're doing a fast lunch because our times are limited. We're trying to give everybody all they can have, but it is limited. All these things, whether I read them out loud or not, please go back and read them. They're very important. Very, very, very important reminders. Okay, and if you have an emergency prior to test day or the night before, somebody's throwing up at your house and you have got to not be here, I need a text. I should not be your priority, but I do have to take care of the school. So as soon as you can tell me, let me know. All right, what now? What do we do? Make sure you've read all over the training materials. The people that attended live and have bared with me in the fast forward version are Mr. Naharo, Ms. Valderas, and Ms. Naswich. Everybody else, you are watching the training video. For your training to be complete, you have to submit your training verification form, which will be sent later today. You have to do that by Thursday, April 4th. So if you're going to be an early bird, that means yours has to be done by April 3rd. And some of you really cling to the early bird. Okay. All right. Continually check your shared folder. Here is a link to it. Make sure your room is test ready. Start covering now. Read your emails, updates, content. Communicate with kids. We need all the things happening, all of us on the accelerator together as a team. All right. Thank you for attending your training. Look for your emails, all the things that are happening. And if you're on this and you're watching the recorded, then you've already found your emails. I appreciate you. Let me know if there's anything I need to know. Again, send me emails about those absences. Thanks for coming and have a great day, everybody.